I'm Sarah Canney, and this is my live Instagram show, Showing Up, Courageous Conversations with Women Who Are Following Their Heart. So my name, for those of you who don't know, is Sarah Canney, and I am the author of the blog Run.Fargirl.com and also the host and founder of Rise.Run.Retreat, which is an all-women's running retreat, which is coming up quickly. Our registration for our spring retreat in Woodstock, Vermont closes April 7th. And if you want more information about that, you can DM me or head over to Rise.Run.Retreat.com. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for the weekend that I'm putting together. So this is my Instagram live show, which, as I say every time, isn't so much a show as it is a showing up, where I invite women on to talk about how they're pursuing their passion, how they are following their heart into things that might be a little challenging or difficult or scary, and how they overcome obstacles that present themselves along the way. So things like doubt, insecurity, frustration, hesitation, all those things that can keep us from doing what we really want to do. I'm interested in the process of how people go headlong into something that excites them. And sometimes that thing that excites you is a little bit scary. So this Instagram live show is all about those conversations. And if you haven't already seen past episodes, you can check out the highlights of those in Instagram TV, my IGTV channel. And then if you want to see full episodes, you can head to runfargirl.com or shoot me an email and I can help you get access to those. The link was in my profile, but now I've got the retreat link, so we're always swapping links in and out. But I'll be sure to share that, how to see view the full episodes after the live show, after this is done. So today, Friday, I'm bringing on Jessica Hofheimer, who's also known as Pace Me. Many of you probably follow her. I feel like I've known Jessica for a long time via the internet, this whole social media world. And she's one of those people who I haven't met in real life, but I feel like if we did meet, we would probably hit it off. So I'm really, okay, my screen is having fun. It won't scroll for me so that I can get Oh, you all just fell on the floor. So sorry. Okay. It's not Instagram. What happens today, Instagram might still have a few bugs to work out. So, yeah, we'll just roll with it. We're going to give it a try again and see if it works this time. So thanks for bearing with us, guys, as we try to get this going. So here's the good news. You're a lot closer.
Yeah, I can actually see you're moving around.
Yeah. Before your face was really pixelated, so maybe this is a better connection. We'll see. Maybe Instagram works.
Cool. Okay, we're gonna roll with it.
We can left off. So you were talking about how you always were sort of had an interest in art and wanted to pursue it in school, but then kind of from your dad kind of got the
I mean, it's okay. It's okay, but like at the time he was just like, that's not a career. And I think that the times have changed a lot. But, you know, my dad was like an executive at a company, and I think he, you know, I was like the kind of kid he wanted me to be like a lawyer, you know? But anyways, so he wasn't going to like pay for me to do art school. And so I did architecture. And in my first year of that program, I loved it, but I did not want to follow that path. Like they gave us a course on like what the path would have been like, which was a really good idea because it weeded a lot of us out. But here I was like an 18-year-old girl, and I was like, I'm going to be designing bathrooms for like, or parking garages, and there's no creativity in that until I'm like 40, you know, and here I am at like almost 43, and I'm like, that went by fast. But, you know, I wound up just becoming an English major because I loved reading and writing, and I really just did not know what I wanted to do when I grew up. But I always loved to draw and make things for people. So I wound up just my career in and of itself fell into business to business sales. And it was really fun. I worked for a company that I loved, but like the selling in of itself wasn't very like soul filling to me. And one of my childhood friends, who is like my best friend since I was 9, asked me if I would make greeting cards with her and that we would start our own company. So this was like, I was about 25 years old, and Marguerite is her name, and we had another friend named Stephanie, and the three of us did it. We did it. We became a little LLC, and I did all our drawings, and Marguerite was in the engineering school at UVA where I went to college, and so she was like tech savvy, and our friend Steph was like, what do they say? Like you could sell candy to there's some like saying she could do that. She could just like, you just wanted like anything Steph told you, you could. She was so just like magnetic with her energy that way. So she took that on, and I was still working a full-time job, but it was like, oh my gosh, like my drawings are something. Like it was such like I never would have done that on my own if they hadn't said, like, what you do is unique, Jess, and like, let's make this into something. So we printed everything ourselves. I hand drew stuff. We scanned it into the computer. Marguerite worked her magic with the computer, and we would hand cut, hand fold, we put glitter on everything. And we were in a few stores and like did Eastern Market in Washington, D.C. It's like a really cool, hip market, and it was really fun. But my friend Stephanie actually was diagnosed with breast cancer during that time at 29 years old, and she also found out she was pregnant within the same doctor's appointment. And she and her husband had been married for about 6 months, and she wanted to continue. We called ourselves I Wish I May. That was the name of our company. I actually have our little business card I was going to show you. So it was like one of those little wish things.
I love it.
And yeah, it was really special. And Steph wanted to keep doing I Wish I May during that time, so we did. And about a year later, she was in remission and had her little baby, and she was like, you know, I think now I just want to like focus on my family. And Marguerite was like, yeah, you know, at that point, Marguerite and I both were engaged, and we got married within a few months of each other. And so our lives were really changing, and they were like, but Jess, you should keep doing this. And so I bought them out. It wasn't for a lot of money, but I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And I was sort of doing it on my own, but it didn't feel right to still call it I Wish I May. So I just like drew a little logo of my dog, and I called it Little Big Dog. And I just did custom orders. I made like tons of save the dates, wedding invitations, things like that for people that I knew, but I didn't, it was just all, you know, whatever came to me by word of mouth. I didn't have like a website or anything like that. But during that time, Robert and I started our family, and I was just juggling a lot of stuff. And so it kind of like fell away. I was still working my full-time job and learning how to be a mom and a wife. Robert and I were just married for like, 3 years at the time. And so it kind of fizzled away. But during those years of like, being a new mom, figuring out how to work, I had Will, my second child, when Abby was only 16 and a half months old. So it was like a very overwhelming time for me. And he had a lot of health issues. So I actually left my full-time job when Robert and I had to make that decision because he was so sick and we didn't really know what was going on with him. And so and that's how running kind of found its way back into my life, because running was always there, but during those years, it really was just to it was a survival technique. But I found myself really missing that creative outlet. And my friend Stephanie passed away, and that was very difficult. And I had all these supplies from our, business, and we did I Wish I May when I bought them out. And when my little kids were babies and I wasn't working at all, I had always wanted to make or buy, if I could find it, a growth chart for my children that was an ice cream cone, like a giant ice cream cone with different scoops that would be like, you would be that flavor as you got taller. And there's a long backstory to that, but I couldn't find one. I checked Etsy everywhere. I couldn't find one. So I decided to make one, just like while my kids were playing on the playroom floor. And I did that. And I hand painted it and I put it up in my playroom, and friends would come over and they'd be like, "Where did you get that? That is so fun. That is so cool." And I was like, "I made it," and it wound up turning into a business, and I would get orders. And it was very labor intensive because these things are 5 feet long. But I had an idea one day to use my supplies from the paper when we did the stationery to make it a little bit more efficient and cost effective for me from a time standpoint. So I hand drew my ice cream and created a stencil out of it, and then used that as the background instead of painting every flavor. And that became a company called Sugar Cone Company, and I started selling my growth charts. So it's kind of I guess my point with all this is that I've always needed to have a creative outlet and wanted it to be a way for me to do work at home that I loved, where I could be with my children and also explore my creative passions, but make it something that would be meaningful to other people to have. It was at the same time that I was kind of lost, trying to figure out, from a financial standpoint, how am I contributing to my family and also doing something that makes me happy. I got pregnant with my third child, not expecting that. And at the same time, I've been discovering a lot about myself through running. And so I guess I just kind of found myself with all these things that I was doing. I had my running and I was coaching. That kind of happened as an accident too when it happened. My sister told someone, "You need a running coach." My sister's a running coach, and I had just gotten my certification really for my own. I just wanted to teach myself more about running because I knew I was making a ton of mistakes and I just was sick of that. But I loved the coaching. And so I had this weird hodgepodge of stuff that I was balancing, and something had to go. And so eventually Sugar Cone went. I have this sign behind me. That's why I did this here. I don't know if you can see it. It says Sugar Cone.
Yeah.
And that's what I would put up. We were in little shops and stuff in the DC area. But it was really fun. I just I was doing too many things. So over the years though, I really missed my creative outlet. And I just, with what I'm doing now, it was I couldn't really find a way to connect. How do I connect my running and my passion for running and all that running does for me, and what I love about helping others discover what it can do for them through the sport, you know, with my passion for creating things, meaningful things that can embody, you know, what this sport has done. And they don't really seem like they would go together, right? But I had this idea, like, you know, a few years ago, I had created little like slogans, like I just drew some things like, you know, Dorothy's thing, dream big, run long. I made her a watercolor of that, like breathe and believe, like different like designs that I played with, but I couldn't really connect them. And I honestly like just had that idea maybe like a month and a half, 2 months ago. Like it just came to me like, what if I did that? Would that be cool? That's sort of unique. It's different. It might be fun for me. And I work with a therapist who helps me, you know, with my eating disorder recovery that I know we've talked about. And as that's evolved, we realize like there's so much more depth to that. And I told her, like, I have this like inner critic in my head a lot that's like, no, that's crazy. You shouldn't do that. Like, you know, why do you do so many things, Jess? Like, you know, and like, what's going on? Like, you're all over the place. But so when I shared that with her, I'm like, I had this idea and I just don't know, like, it just feels like, is it just like another idea? And I kind of like would shame myself about like, well, I wish I May didn't last and sugar cone didn't last. And, you know, am I just like someone who starts stuff and doesn't finish it? Like, what's wrong with me? And she was like, nothing's wrong with you. These are beautiful things. And the ways that they've grown, and then when you've moved on, you didn't quit. It made sense to move on, and they all add up to who you are. And this is so authentically who you are. And so, you know, she kind of gave me the courage to see that with this idea. And I just thought, well, why don't I try it? And so I had some close friends who are part of the running community who know me very well and who know this part of me intimately. And so I thought, well, I'll just start with that because I think they would appreciate if I just made something for them, you know? And so I did. And then the people in my life that know me were like, Jess, you need to just put this out there. Like it could be something. This does make a lot of sense. It is unique. It's uniquely you and no one else is doing it. Just put it out there. So
yeah,
I figured, what do I have to lose? I didn't want to like, there was a lot of like internal, like, oh, do you need to start like a hashtag and an account and blah. And I was just like, no, I hate that part of it. I'm just going to put it out there and see if people like it. And so I did. But it's been an evolution, I guess, is the way I would say.
Going back to what you had said about talking through all the things that you started and feeling like, what's wrong with me? You know, like, how do all these pieces come together? And that certainly resonates with me because I feel like when you are a creative soul, like when you're a creator, you always have sparks of ideas and things that are coming at you, things that you want to do and start. And it's easy to feel the way that you felt was like, yeah, what's wrong with me? Why can't I finish anything? But I think lately what I've tried to do with myself is see things as a projection, as a progression and a trajectory. Like, what's the trajectory that I'm on? And then I can see how the pieces fit together. Whereas when you look at thing individually, it's like it's harder to see how the pieces fit together.
Yeah.
So I think it's great that you've just been so persistent in each thing, that even though like they don't necessarily all sort of connect in a really linear way, like they're still all connected.
Yeah. So my good friend Andrea, who I've talked a lot about on my Instagram, she is a Pilates student of mine who has ALS. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, I have her picture. I think I posted it too, but I haven't given it to her yet. She's been traveling a lot, and I need to, like, I framed it for her. But she's a huge inspiration to me. And she, she's an athlete. She's a young woman. She was diagnosed with ALS when she was 33. But she is writing a book, fighting a disease that has no cure. And she's raising hundreds of thousands. She's already raised $300,000 to find a cure for this disease. And she's doing all the things to do to take care of herself and try to, live as long and as vibrantly as she can and connect with all the people that matter to her. And so I'm like, how does this person do all this? And anyway, she had actually gifted me a session with a woman that's really helped her, who's like a business coach, not long after I started this art, because I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what are you doing, Jess? And this was super valuable because this woman asked me to really think about what my core values are, like what my North Star is, not with career, but like my life. What gets me out of the bed in the morning? What makes a day worth living? Like these deep questions. And she wanted me to write, which is another practice that I've had. I know you and I share that in common. Like that's how I process things the best, and like get really intimate with myself and like, how do I really feel? What's really going on? But I was confused. I was like, why? Like, aren't you a business coach? Like, aren't we talking about business? Like, why does it matter? Why are we starting there? And she was just like, trust me. So she actually took what we boiled it down, and essentially, love and connection are the most important things to me. That's my why. And, that is so deeply woven into everything that I do, with my work and with my family, my friends, with the running community. Like, that's what matters to me. And so she said to me, she was like, if money were no object, would you still run? And I was like, yes. Like, duh, right? Like, of course
Yeah.
I would. Like, and she was like, and would you still want to share your passion for running and what your knowledge of running with others and help them with running if money were no object? And I was like, yes. Like, it lights a fire inside of me. I don't, like, there would just be no question, And she was like, and how does that feed your need for connection and love? And that was so easy too, right? I mean, this is like person to person, and I can draw those connections with my children and my husband. I can draw those connections with a higher power, and like just being out in nature and feeling like I'm part of something bigger. Like, it all feeds my spirit. And then she did the same thing with art, and she was like, if money were no object, would you still draw? And I was like, absolutely. Like, I've been doing this since I was a little girl, like I love it. I mean, one night when I was working on these drawings, my daughter was sitting across the table from me, and she gave me one of her AirPods, and she had the other one in, and we're going to the Shawn Mendes concert together this summer. And I'm like, okay, I don't really know him. So she's trying to like educate me on Shawn Mendes, so I'm not like the nerdy mom at the concert. But, but like, we were drawing together while we were listening to the music. And I do this with my children all the time, where like I have my art set up in our bonus room, or like our playroom area, and I can do my work and share it with my children. When I get an order for a piece of art, like everyone that sends me one sends me a story. Like, it's a gift that they're giving to someone they love, or it's a moment that they accomplished something huge that they never thought they could. It's a representation of a moment in time that they're proud of and that brings them joy. So is that feeding that deep need for me for connection and love? It is. And so I need to kind of I need to be practicing just in life in general, and running does this a ton for us, I think, just getting used to those negative voices coming to my head. And, sometimes they're helpful, if something's dangerous or whatever, but, I have to practice being okay with that being there and just like not letting it drive the bus or whatever. Like, I'm not in this place where I think before I was really serious about getting therapy and help for some of my behavior patterns in my mind and the way I treated myself. I just tried to like stifle it and just be super happy. I was like the Unikitty from the Lego movie. Like everything's awesome until I completely explode, and so it's really been a transformative process, and I'm having a lot of fun. It's scary, don't get me wrong, like creating my art and sharing it with 10,000 people or whatever. That's scary stuff. I mean, this is me. And it's open for criticism, the same way, I guess, if you, put a picture of yourself running, like you're opening that up for people to say whatever they want to say or think whatever they want to think. And you don't have control over that no matter what. But there's so much that I wouldn't do or grow through if I made that the driver of the choices that I make. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough because I feel like you're right. You can never squash the negative voices or totally ignore them because they'll always be there. And I think there is sort of an ebb and flow to the way that we, the level of energy that we bring to things as well. So, like what you were saying, just tapping into like that passion, those things that really light you up. That when that's the drive, really beautiful things come out of that. And, there are those negative voices. And I think that recognizing that they're a part of the process and not necessarily just dismissing or ignoring is really important. Then I think then we get further along in our journey, recognizing those voices and then just learning to deal with them in new ways is really important. So that your art out there in front of you is a little scary. So how do you process some of those doubts, some of those negative voices that come in and just discourage you a little bit?
Well, I try just not to like feed it at this point. Like I know I expect it. I expect it. So, I think I really was glad that I just kind of shared it with friends first. That gave me some comfort and confidence that it doesn't really matter what other people think. Like I'm doing something that I enjoy and that, I'm not investing a ton in the result of it. It's more that I feel really happy that it's part of my life now. If I have, something to work on that's bringing meaning to someone's life, that makes me happy. So I have taken the pressure off of myself that it should be anything in particular. I still work through, like the other day I was at my son's soccer practice and someone's like, what do you do? Like, for work. And I get like a little bit like nervous and weird when people ask me that because I start talking and I'm like, well, I'm a running coach and a Pilates teacher and I draw runners. Like, I haven't really like come around, it's sort of funny, like but I tell myself like, well, you're in the beginning of this, like learning how to own it. So like, I remember when I started running, I wouldn't say I'm a runner. That would sound like way more serious than I was, allowing myself to be at the time. But now I will say that with pride. I'm a runner. Like there's no doubt about it. Like that is like part of who I am. But I think that I'm trying to get more comfortable with saying I'm also an artist. Right now, what kind of comes to me is like, I'm someone who really loves to draw. But I haven't really gotten there yet. But I'm much more at peace with the fact that I know in my heart, like, I'm so many things, and that's awesome. So are you. So are my children. And I want to be able to give myself the freedom to be all those things, because I'm all me. I'm one thing, but I'm this like evolving, changing, growing being, you know, and it's so cool. So I'm really just trying to embrace that, like you said, like it's the process. It's a newer way of thinking for me. Things used to be a lot more fixed, a lot more black and white, like a lot more all or nothing. I was really comfortable in those extremes, and maybe some of the things that I've done in the past would have lived a little bit longer in their state if I hadn't had those types of thinking patterns. But now it's sort of like, oh, this is so cool, because I'm allowing the space for me to like be whatever wherever the next step takes me. Like maybe that's something that's fun about being older, like, or this age where I'm like, I'm kind of curious about where this will take me, because nothing stays the same. Like that one thing that is guaranteed to always be there is change, you know, and I just want to be along for the ride. Like I want to experience all of it. So I know with my art, it's a similar thing as far as, you know, we talk a lot about running and moving our bodies, and with Pilates, I mean, it's the magic of being alive. You know, the more you do it, the more it's in you. You know, when I step away from my artwork, it takes me time to, like, almost like from a neural mapping standpoint, you know, that neuroplasticity, all of that. Like if you stop running for a while and you go out again, you're like, oh, this feels kind of weird. You know, my body will remember, I'll get back to it, but like it takes time. And so I'm realizing that with this, like if I step away, it's going to take me longer to get back to it, and I won't evolve if I avoid it. So I just keep putting myself there. I'm like, I want to evolve it. I know that the messages I've gotten from people who have placed orders with me are amazing, you know? And so a lot of them I haven't even been able to share because they're like surprises for people. You know, like some women are giving other girlfriends a special drawing for getting their OTQ time, or a birthday present, or one woman just ordered something for her husband for their anniversary, you know, like they're beautiful stories, you know? So if I'm not doing it, I don't get to experience that, and other people don't get that moment where they're like giving someone they love this super special thing, you know, that, oh my gosh, I made, you know? So I just try to remind myself of the good things.
That's so exciting when you get some feedback that's just validating in a way that you're on the right path. You're doing.
It's like, keep going.
I
like it. Keep going.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what, looking forward, what are your sort of goals or aspirations or dreams for what you're creating in a way that feels authentic to you? Like what do you see as sort of the path forward?
I mean, I have had a lot of dreamy moments where I think like, oh, that would be really cool. But I haven't set anything in stone. Like I haven't been like, okay, hit this bar. I'm not doing that to myself. But I did make something new this week. I think I can share it because I'm going to give it to her in like an hour, and she's getting a massage right now because it's her birthday. So I made a bib for my friend. I don't know if people can see it. I put it in the screen, but it's her race bib. She just ran an awesome PR at the half marathon. She PR'd by like 5 minutes. And so I made her bib. I had another friend send me a picture. They did the same race. So I had a picture of her, like, so I knew what her number was and everything. But then my friend sent me like a close up of the bib. And so I created her bib. And then I put her time on the bottom, and then her mantra is built from fire. So I wrote that underneath. And I have like, I think it's really fun. I think it's special. And, you know, it's just like a little different. Like I always forget to save my bibs, or, you know, they get all gross. And then I'm like, oh, trying to,
Yep.
you know, so I think that could be really a special, like, new product to offer. And it's a little more personalized with like the time and the mantra on it. So I would love to add that and make those for people. I want to just do more of it, so that more people know that it's something that they can get for someone they love or for themselves. I think some of the feedback I've gotten, my older sister is an artist. She has a company called Dizzy Daisy Designs, and she's always been like someone I've looked up to my whole life. And she's given me some great feedback about my art. And one thing that she said to me that she loved was that everybody's bodies are very like fluid, and like it's just how I see them. Like nobody has like a perfect body in what I'm drawing. Like with her, she's like, all my people get skinny arms and legs. Like someone will be like, oh, you made me look skinny. And she's like, yeah, my people just have stick arms. Like that's just what I do. And so we had some laughs about that, but she was like, I just love that she's like, they're very fluid, and it's like just so real. It's not realistic. Like these are, you know, you're not going to look exactly like yourself. That's not the kind of artist that I am. But there was something to that, you know, just that really resonates with me about just being comfortable with who you are. And
Yeah.
I don't know, sometimes I'm like, would it be a fun, like, illustrations in a book or something like that? Like, that gets my heart excited. But I wouldn't necessarily say it's a goal at this point. I mean, I would love for more of the running community to know that I'm creating this, because I would love to fill my time with being able to do this for my work. That would be a real dream of mine. Right now I'm getting like 1 to 3 orders a week, and it's awesome, but it's not necessarily like enough for me to let go of like some of the other things that I do. I would never want to let go of my coaching, but I have, like, as the business coach said, I have a patchwork of businesses and I would love to let go of some of that in order to really kind of consolidate and focus just on my coaching and my artwork. That would really be meaningful to me.
I love that,
So,
that patchwork of
it's so true. It's so true. You know, I mean, part of being an entrepreneur, I was listening to, have you ever read any of Brad Stulberg's work? You have to find him. So he's not on Instagram, but he co-wrote Peak Performance with Steve Magnus.
Oh, I heard him on Mario Fraioli's podcast.
Yes, me too. Me too. So good. I listened to it the other day. So good. And I think so at the end of it, did you listen all the way through the end?
Yeah.
He was talking about entrepreneurs, and I found this like so interesting.
Yes.
Yes, you know what I mean? And I was like, I had a moment. Yes. And I was like, whoa, okay. Because one thing the business coach said to me, she was like, you're not afraid. She was like, I love that a lot of people really struggle with like trying stuff, like putting it out there. That's not my problem. Like I move maybe impulsively really quickly. I'm like, oh, I have an idea. Like, it must happen now, and I have to do all the things to make it happen, and it has to be amazing. And like, it has to just like, I've already defined it all, you know, but I haven't necessarily like thought through it all. And so I'm really trying to approach this differently. I want to be more trusting, to ease my way in, to be a little more strategic thinking maybe with it. Not from like, it's not who I am really. Like I want it to stay light and be who I am, but like I don't want to define everything right now. And the fact is, like, you know, it doesn't need to be anything. Like maybe if I just let go a little bit and trust the process, I open myself up to more possibilities, you know? I don't know. But I loved that was so good.
I think that's what, I mean, I think that's what showing up is all about, right? It's about just the little steps that you take every day to just show up in what you believe in, and just follow in the things that set your heart on fire and see what happens. You know, I think that's like when you talk about like finding joy and happiness and contentment, connection, those types of things, like I feel like if we just stay on that path and sort of trust, and sometimes it's hard, like especially just thinking about having like being sort of that black or white, like everything like in a box and neat and fits together. If that's sort of where you're coming from, it can be really hard just the process. But I really think that like when we tap in to that sort of center of what really excites us and sort of trust, then really open ourselves up to experiencing a lot of joy is really kind of that's what my experience has been, and very similar to what you were saying, just in terms of just not being afraid of all the things that you're excited about and just kind of doing a little bit of everything. That's who you are. And so, yeah.
It's exciting.
Well,
and it's really nice to know you're not alone. You know, everybody,
so true,
you know, is going through that kind of stuff. But I think sometimes like the Instagram profile frustrates me. It's like, well, if this is who you're saying you are, and how many characters are left? Like,
relax. That 30-second elevator speech. It's like, tell me who you are. 30 seconds. It's like, I can't. Not possible.
Yeah, I know. Let's just hang out. Anyway,
if people do want to come hang out with you, where can they find you on social media? And then what's your website?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm Pace of Me everywhere. Like, so Instagram, Pace of Me, Twitter, Pace of Me. I have a Facebook for Pace of Me. I feel like a lot of it is the same as my Instagram, but I sometimes will post like an article there or something that I think is interesting or helpful. And my website is paceofme.com. So it's all the same.
Okay. And then people can put orders for the customer on your website.
Yeah, so there's a page on my website for, I think it says shop. And right now you can choose 5x7 or 8x10, 1 or 2 people in it. Although someone wrote me the other day and asked if she has a photo with 4 people, and that's fine. Like I can do more. I just don't have like the order form figured out for that. So if you ever have questions, like message me. I mean, my favorite thing about all this stuff is to actually like for real connect with people. So, you know, DM me, email me, whatever, send me a private message. I love to talk to people, and I'm in the Raleigh area, and so Raleigh, Cary, North Carolina, and I'm always out running with the community here. So that's how you find me.
Awesome.
Thank you for having me.
For joining me. I just loved hearing your story. So it was really fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I hope it helped someone. It was entertaining.
Yeah. Good. It was
okay.
Good. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. You too. Have fun on your vacation.
Thank you. It'll be fun.
Awesome.
Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye.
Bye. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I know it was a little choppy, and then I had to get my charging cord in the middle of that. So, but you know, that's what Instagram Live is all about. It's live. It's exciting. It's always a adventure. This week's episode has been sponsored by Trigger Pin. So Trigger Pin is the foam roller that I pretty much exclusively use because it does the job of every other foam roller that I've ever owned. And they are made in the US by a small company here in New Hampshire. If you want to check out the Trigger Pin, you can head to tpinmuscletherapy.com. And if you use code RUNFAR, you can get 10% off your order. Next week, like Jess said, I'm going to be on vacation with my family. I'm going to be unplugging and disconnecting and engaging and being present with them. So there will be no IG live next week, but the following week, I'm really excited to have on Tina Muir and have a conversation with her about all the things that she's doing. She hosts a podcast and has recently released a book about her journey, her health journey. So I'm going to have her on to chat with her about that process and everything that she's doing. So thanks so much for joining me today, guys. If you would like to check out past episodes, also find where this full episode will be, you can head to runfargirl.com, or you can email me, and then also I will go ahead and put a link to get access to the live episodes, the full episodes, and then you can always wait for the highlights to come out. I'll hopefully get this highlight up in a little bit. So have a great weekend. Thanks so much for joining me.